Hi everyone, this is another review, and it is another suggestion from a new subscriber of mine, Nightwish, and I thank you for the suggestion for the review of the album Change of Generation by Unlucky Morpheus. Now for introduction to this band, Unlucky Morpheus is a power metal, spirit metal, independent group from Japan, many of the members consisting of other bands. Change of Generation is the band's 11th album, not counting re-recordings or the cover album that they released. The band consists of vocalist Tenji Fuyuki, who goes by the stage name as Fuki, and she is from Dollbox, Lightbringer, and formerly of Dragon Guardian. Violinist Jill from Rose Noir and Hollow Mellow. Guitarist Ukuma Hiragon, formerly of Yusei Teku, guitarist Jinya from Catabolic Acid, and bassist Ogawa Hiyuki. And also, lastly, but not leastly, drummer Fumiya Morishita, formerly of Thousand Eyes. And actually, I'm actually going to correct myself. It's actually the band's 12th album, not counting re-recordings or the cover album they did. And that in Change of Generation was released on September 19th, 2018. One thing that is prevalent is all the band members are insanely talented and are masters are their respective crafts. Jill has got to be one of the most badass violinists I've seen in a very long time. She's not only able to play along with a lot of all the other members, but in fact she does outright just steals the show in several places throughout the record, even like on certain tracks. Strings combined with metal is just a match that is like made and like woven perfectly. And this woman down right here is just downright proof. I haven't seen a violinist this awesome since Jonathan Cho from Skillet, and he was more of a touring member, not an actual like official part of the band, which just makes Jill even a more awesome musician. Both Yukimura and Jinya complement each other very well and can do more than just shred extremely fast speeds, which is what most power metal is. Ogawa proves how underrated a bass player is. His solos on the record are truly something to behold on the tracks like the opener, Night Sword. Fuyama has some times to shine behind the kit, though it might not seem like a big deal. In power metal, drums don't really get the chance to snow off because it's mostly just snare 4 beats. So it's a really nice surprise. Fuki is truly amazing and a wonderful vocalist. Her vibrato is something to behold. I personally can do a little bit of vibrato, but not nearly to her level. She's also amazing at adjusting the volume as well as the punction or the exclamation point on like certain on like her delivery. She is also another vocalist I think we're gonna look up and like try to look up to. And so yes, as far as vocalists for me, she joins the ranks of Ruki from a Gazette, Hyo from Duran Gray, Maiko from Dazzle Vision, Saki from Bandmade, and Reno for Aldius as far as vocalists and influence and inspire me. Love Bites, Asumi is also maybe up there too. Not sure yet. I only listened to the recent album, which, by the way, if you want me to review Love Bites, let me know in the comments down below. And also, what is the most badass violinist you know? Let me know in the comments down below, as we will, of course, before we go any further, as tradition with all my album reviews, I will look at the cover of the album, and as a reminder, this will in no way affect my overall rating of the album at the end of the video. This is just more just for fun. Now, the artwork features an Andromedus Paladin, which I'm going to assume it's a female, but you can never be too sure. It could be a how do you pronounce that word? Bushiman. It could be like a very feminine-looking guy. So keep that into account. Paladin with his wings in the background. I mean, to mean that this person's possibly an angel, his hands grabbing onto a sword that is planted in the ground, and a queen's crown in the background. This symbolizes the title nicely is the paladin becoming the queen, or the queen is stepping down to defend the kingdom herself. So I guess it does confirm that that this is indeed a female, at least to my perspective, after getting a closer glance at it. It's the kind of one that that someone would expect from a power metal album cover, but it is a well-made one. In fact, I think minus the band's devilish logo in the bottom of the corner, one could easily assume that from this cover art that this was a Christian underground metal band. And I do quite the logo as well that the band has. And to me, this is a solid artwork. I'll give the artwork a very firm 8 out of 10. Now we go into a more in-depth look at the album, and we'll see if all the talent on the album makes a good record. The album starts out with a track called Caminito di Guerrazone, which for the first 30 seconds of the track sounds like someone hitting the rewind button on a CD player with like this evil sounding organ playing during this, before it just breaks into this epic choir and the violin for the rest of the intro. This is a very fantastic and classical sounding intro, and is honestly the perfect build up to the opening track, and is what an opening track should be, or intro track, sorry. Now, Night Sword is the album opener and starts off fantastically with the opening as an example of great power metal, and the drumming is the surprise sound of the track. With a lot of power metal, it's mainly nothing but snare and drum and let the guitars do the thing, but here, not the case. There are several interesting fills throughout the track. The drum even comes with an amazing good bass solo halfway through the guitar solo, which, by the way, as to expect with power metal, the guitar solos are amazing. The slightly quiet nature of the violin on the track is perfect, and the vocal performance is truly something to behold from Fuki. A very strong track that has the record at a high flying start. The lyrics of the song, to me, paint the picture of an epic fight between two knights, and in the end, a female knight is left standing, which could be the lady from the cover art. Now, before I go into the next two tracks, I want to mention something really interesting about them that Nightwish mentioned, and then because this is just really cool. Kadavir and Revatic are just, there's a really interesting connection here. So Kadavir is Revatic backwards, and vice versa. I'm talking as far as purely as the instrumentation and goes. Not sure about the vocals. I'm assuming with the way that the Japanese language works, it's very possible that it could be backwards as well, because in the Japanese language you do have the freedom to do that stuff that you really don't have that freedom to do in the American language. So yeah, but there are some, it's not like, just same song backwards. There are some different details between both songs. But it's also really nice because it's something that works as like two separate songs, and they both stand on their own really well, but they also make a very kick-ass 9-minute long song at the same time. So it's just a very brilliant concept that is executed extremely well. The first half, Kadavir, has a blazing opening before getting more melodic, and it has a very symphonic sound. At around the 1:45 mark, there is a guitar solo, then a violin solo. The guitar and violin blend perfectly with each other. It reminds me a lot of the song Lyre Mask, which was used for the anime Kame ga Kill, which is something similar, and it is freaking awesome. As to be expected with the whole album, Fuki has great vibrato, and her delivery from soft to then loud on the pre-chorus is really awesome, With the lyrics, the song seems to be about someone turning back time after badly losing a battle. And the second half, Revatic feels actually more softer at points than Cadavir. However, it does have has a faster and more in-depth sound than Cadavir did, and it has an overall more epic sound to the track. The chorus has this feeling of ascension. The track as a whole has a heavenly and divine feel throughout the whole thing, and nothing fits such a track like an epic soaring choir. The violin is much faster during the solo, which again has the awesomeness of Lyre Mask. Also a small thing, but the snare drum in the pre-chorus is just perfect. Fifth track on this album is Kisai, and it has a heavy, low sound compared to any song in the album so far by a large margin. The scream vocals are a nice touch. It's also the first track on the album that features screaming vocals. The vocals have a nice and urgent flow in the verses without sounding fast, which are Fuki's vocals I'm talking about. The verses have an epic feeling of being in the middle of an epic fight or an epic clash. The chorus slows down the tempo just right amount to have a satisfying at giving the song the extra punch or kick. The chorus has just the right amount of power and adds emotional weight to the song. And the chorus does have the feeling of like a comfort after a fight, like being in the arms of a loved one after defending one's homeland. With the track, the slower guitar solo helps to give the song even more weight. Even with the screaming vocals, this song does have, at least to me, a radio-friendly sound feel to it. I would not be surprised if this song somehow saw radio play in Japan, and the song closes out with a symphonic intro. After that, it is followed up by Kyobu no Koibito 2018 version, and it is from the title. I'm assuming it's a redone track from an earlier record, or maybe from an EP or a B-side from a single. I'm not completely sure. But like reworking tracks and stuff is something that is not foreign to me. I know Durham Gray does it all the time, and when they do it, the track always sounds completely different from the original version. So who knows? It could not just be, an updated re-recording. It could be a completely different track from the original. But I've not heard the original, so I'm just going off of what I've heard here with no prior knowledge of any of the previous tracks, and that's going to be the same with all tracks that are the 2018 version as a future reference. This song picks up where Kisai left off, continuing the heavy sound. The song definitely has a more frantic feel to it than the Kisai did. The song does have one thing in the production or in the mix that I think is left to be desired, and that is why I do think that compressing screaming vocals was a nice effect. I feel it's compressed too much, or it's too quiet in the mix, and the screams sound far too quiet. Under everything, and you'll see here, it's under everything, and if it were backing vocals, it would not be a problem for me, but this is the track on the album with the most screaming vocals, and it takes front and center here, with Fuki taking more of the role of a backup. There's a nice breakdown after the chorus, and the drumming's the highlight of the track. It's just unfortunate, though, that I have that gripe with this track. Our lucky number 7 on this album is Requiem, and it slows down the album not only from the last few heavy tracks, but as the album as a whole. The violin on this track is very pleasant and is the highlight of this track to me. The song, in terms of sound, sounds very waltzy, has a slightly folky feel to it, and the setting feels like a fantasy ball. In terms of emotion, the song has a more heartfelt and bittersweet feel, and this is an amazing ballad when it comes to a nice softer solo, and overall it's a nice way to slow the record down. This is not a half-assed ballad, what a lot of bands will do, where it's an obligatory slow song that they really don't care about. The ones that are just there to keep people who aren't necessarily into that kind of music happy, or so you can be like, show, person that is in the middle of ballad, tricking them to go on a concert and that sort of thing. Fun times. So this was a track that was put as much effort into it as for the rest of the album. The vocals and the violin drive the song's emotional pull and gives the song a soul. And then we reached the intermission of the record, which is the track Spartan Army, it comes slightly after the middle of the record. The album starts with a heavy metal intro, intro, and is a freaking awesome violin and fantastic solo. There is a nice groovy bass solo, and it's an amazing instrumental track. Overall, the track is very fun shred fest. And then we go to the second half of the album with Wings 2018 version. And it is a great way for the album to pick up right up after the intermission. The track as a whole has a heavy metal vibe. The instrumentation helps to make the album sound even more dynamic and powerful. There's a nice solo with the guitar and the instrument. Seals the show on the track is the guitar. Now we have the lead, at least what I think is the lead single of the album, Black Pentagram, and the one that has had the music video for this song flood my recommended feed on YouTube for a good 8 months now. I'm not complaining. The song comes with a very frantic intro, which has a urgent feel throughout the track. Fuki has a nice voice when she's singing at a lower, more bassy tone, and she actually does sound quite intimidating. And of course, I have to say, probably with every track on the album, freaking amazing solo. The chorus gives a satisfying sense of triumph after all the urgency. This is a great choice, not only a promotional song, but a lead single. Everything about the track is perfect. The lyrics paint the song as an anthem of the dark forces. Think like the villain song of the Disney movies, which, according to a lot of people, I think the general consensus is the villain songs in those movies are the best. So think this as like a power metal version of those songs, as the lyrics paint, as to me, the lyrics are about the army of the underworld building up their forces to attack good, with our character being the wife of the devil or whatever evil force, of that particular setting or battle. And here's the weird thing. The next track is Change of Generations, but it's the 2018 version, so kind of interesting that a redone track is the title of the album. It's just something that is pretty unpredictable. So I guess with this band, you can't ever predict their album titles. It starts out with a build up to the fast intro for the first 10 seconds with violin filling, and that intro is fantastic. The verses come in nice, softer instrumentation in terms of, which in turn offers a great build-up to in the intro, a great guitar solo, and features a nice and satisfying build-up to the climax. Now we go to the second to last track. Torawa no Bakura opens with this haunting organ at the beginning. The hi-hat, low hat is slightly poppy at the start. The song is not quite a ballad, but it is much slower than most of the songs of the record. It has a second, and this is the second slowest song in the second half. The song has a more simplistic feeling, and it feels, and as overall to me, has the vibe of a anime ending theme. And the song closes with a nice medieval outro. Now the album closes with the track Nagi no Hakobun, which opens with just Fuki singing, and it sounds like it's in a dark and damp dungeon at the start. The instruments are quiet throughout the song, which allows Fuki to just completely drive the song with her voice, which, if it wasn't obvious from the record to this point, she could literally carry a track on her own. The track has a melancholy vibe to it, this feeling of Contempt and Acceptance. It's kind of there is a happy, uplifting vocal harmony near the end of the song to help add a sing-along factor to the song, which I imagine the crowd sings along to at the live performances. With that Contempt and Acceptance, it's up to you to determine whether or not it is a positive acceptance or just an acceptance of a bitter and sad fate, and the ending's kind of like an ascension, like a bitter fate of being defeated in battle, and the ending's more of an ascension to heaven, or if it's embracing a positive destiny, like glory in battle sort of thing, and the ending with the happy choir vocal harmony at the end is or a celebration of victory. And other than the voice, the violin is the main instrument, and the ending fades out perfectly, not only the track, but the album as a whole, with the violin fading out, then the guitars come in and then fade out before the vocals slowly fade out. This is a fantastic closer and perfectly brings a conclusion to the record. And Change of Generation is a strong album throughout. Everything about this album has a high ceiling from front to back. Each track is generously crafted and structured, and each song has its own story and emotion. While only a few songs on here were translated, the lyrics from what I've seen of this album are phenomenal. They are able to tell these stories with precision. The instruments and Fuki's voice are able to give the songs each their own unique emotion and soul. And you can have a better sense of the mood and the vibe. And you have a sense of the mood and the vibe of the song, even with the language barrier, so you don't need to speak Japanese to understand. Speaking of Fuki, this album has brought me more alert to her, and I'm looking forward to her solo album, which is this album is a good case of well-known and experienced musicians being together in a supergroup, and a supergroup that does not act as a blight on a respected musician's career, like most supergroups, at least in the West, tend to do. I mean, if they have released as many albums as they had, it should be expected from them. And the fact that such a great album came from an independent band, including its production and mixing, is actually astonishing. And mix is actually not just competence. It's not just a passable mix that's okay or passable, but it's very well crafted, and it helps to give certain tracks a full-blown scene or setting, and it helps to add an immersion to the overall experience. Pretty much everything about this album is perfect. I would be beating a dead horse with more praise. However, an issue I've had with the mixing on one of the tracks does prevent me from giving the album a perfect score, unfortunately. However, I will say this album was probably one of the best albums of 2018 had to offer, and without a doubt, I'm going to give Change of Generation by Unlucky Morpheus a 9.5 out of 10. What was your thoughts on Change of Generation by Unlucky Morpheus? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. And what do you want me to review next? I will take any requests, and more specifically, with Fuki, do you want me to review her Dollbox project and her Lightbringer project? Again, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I am open to any request, and thank you all for enjoying or watching this video and taking your time out of your day. And I just really hope you all have a great